Hello friends, Mr. Squiggs here, and welcome back to another episode of Waiting for Winter to Arrive, by which I mean Soviet SimCity, by which I mean Workers and Resources Soviet Republic. In the last episode, we mostly planned a bunch of sewer systems that probably are never going to be used because it looks like our population is crashing through the floor. And what can we really expect, right? I mean, people have gone the better part of a year, maybe 9 months, with no water, no sewage, no food in most parts of the map, so can't really expect people to stick around. So what we're going to focus on here is getting the two towns that have the most infrastructure built, that is Sherbrooke and Windsor, as developed as we can. I think we had imagined that a nearby town of Montreal would supply Sherbrooke with water. That plan is out the window because I don't have nearly enough infrastructure built up in Montreal, and it's too far away. There's just no chance that we'll get enough built in time. There do seem to be quite a lot of residents still, but frankly, I'm not expecting that to last the winter. Who knows? Maybe we'll be wrong. Maybe we'll get lucky. Maybe as we head into winter here, a whole bunch of stuff will get built pretty quickly. But quite frankly, I'm not going to depend on that. I'm going to plan a little water system for Sherbrooke here based on a pump. Like a water well, groundwater well, since the bodies of water are too far away, and really the nearest one is where we've decided that we're going to dump sewage. So yeah, the issue with the ground wells is that they are highly sensitive to pollution. I guess that's the same as the surface water intake, but the difference is the surface water intake cares about the conditions at the water where you put it, whereas a ground pump is going to care about what's in the vicinity of the ground pump. It doesn't like to have too many buildings around. So without further ado, let's take a look. Let's get the simplest one we can find, maybe small water well, and it should be telling us, there we go, if we're at a spot that's eligible to build, it will tell us what that quality is. And just for the sake of argument, if I do dump it in the middle of the town, you'll notice the quality's a little bit less than if I go further away. Big surprise. But of course, there's a hidden effect that you don't see with this number, which is the pollution. When we've got more polluting buildings and vehicles in our town, that is going to affect the water quality retroactively, or I shouldn't say retroactively, live. As pollution gets worse, the water quality will get worse, and vice versa. So I am going to want to find a balance and put this somewhere not too close, not too far, that sort of thing. Close enough that we can get it built relatively quickly, far enough that it will be somewhat isolated from the pollution of this town, which is only expected to grow. And my first instinct is to put it up this hill somewhere. So I guess we might explore that. Okay, so I'm just going to talk a little bit about what we're doing here. You may have noticed that I used a mod. One of the things that I don't love so much about the vanilla options is that there really is only, you look here, everything I have is a mod. The only water switch that the game provides is to go from a single input to many outputs. There really isn't a way to do the reverse. And in your classical sort of way of planning water systems, this makes sense. It's the inverse of the sewage switch, which takes many inputs, only going to one output, right? And the idea is exactly this, that we start from really large pipes for water and sewage from the source to the output, and those sort of break down into smaller and smaller pipes as we get closer and closer to the end consumers. So it makes sense, water is never coming back out through the water pipes, it's coming back out through the sewage pipes. But this does lead to some issues in planning a water grid. In my case, I am imagining a future in which this water well might someday not be fit for purpose. I hope it doesn't happen for a long time, but imagine if Sherbrooke becomes a really large, sprawling city. It might just be too polluted. Or we might have a more efficient, centralized production of water later, right? I'm building this little water treatment plant here. I don't have a choice. I don't think I'm going to be able to get one as far away as Montreal built. And even if I can get it built, by the time I get it built, I might not be able to keep it staffed. And I don't even have a water main planned or built to carry the water down to Sherbrooke. So lots of problems there. But in the future, I may end up having multiple little small water treatment plants in these various towns, and someday I might say, hey, why don't we be a little more efficient, build a bigger one and just pipe the water out. So I am going to want to design the water system here to have extra inputs, not just extra outputs. And so this is not something that I consider to be very cheaty. I find this is just a not great limitation of the base game, that you can only have one input to a switch. It seems a little limiting for no reason. So just wanted to get that out of the way. The other thing is that, we are pretty much accepting that Montreal might be abandoned. It's a bit ironic that even though it has less infrastructure, the town seems to be full. All the buildings seem to be full. So last time I had hired a few immigrants into Sherbrooke, but this time around I may just move people. The advantage of hiring immigrants is, as I mentioned last time, they come in with their needs fully met. It will take several months for them to decide that they're unhappy and they're going to run away. I don't think that's true of people that I force to move. But I am noticing when I look at this other town, they are complaining about fewer things. So I do think the fact that I've started building some infrastructure, it's kind of a two-edged sword. It seems like the houses know that potential services are in range, and they're upset that they're not working or they don't have access to it. Whereas the ones that have nothing in range seem to have lower expectations, shall we say. Still upset about the lack of jobs and the lack of power and the lack of water. But for example, I'm a bit surprised that here they're not complaining about the lack of food. And I'm really wondering, after 9 months, how they can be 67% satiated. So we don't really need to know every detail of this. I assume that it's some function of the base game itself that knows that it's early in the game, that knows we're using these houses that are put here by the random map generator. So I assume we have some grace time. And that makes a little sense, right? Historically, we wouldn't have a town if there wasn't some kind of food supply. So really, what we're simulating here is sort of this magic transition where somehow all the ancient little farms and agriculture that would traditionally have existed around a town like this, they've been magically stripped away. But it's okay, because really this game is about the industrial era and industrial processes and coming up with a big-scale industrial solution to this. So to some extent, I might build out some agriculture around these towns when we finally have something that will consume those crops. But yeah, for now we're gonna steal a few workers from Montreal. We're going to plan a water system that works for Sherbrooke here, and leave our options open so that whatever water system we build is flexible enough to have changes to it in the future and to potentially accept water from somewhere else in the future. Okay, so we've planned a bunch of things here for the town of Sherbrooke, including a school, including waste infrastructure, including all the water and sewage. So we should be basically caught up to Windsor in terms of this town being long-term survivable. Work on the shopping center is getting pretty close. We could be just 10 or 15 days away. I guess we're waiting on a load or two of concrete, but other than that, it's just labor, and we'll be all finished here. So we may be able to survive the winter here. I brought in a few more workers from Montreal. I was just looking at our lonely construction office, which, you know, the whole town is in range. Stuff far out of the town is in range. But if you look at what's in green versus everything in yellow that we planned, you'll notice that not everything is being assigned automatically, even though it's supposed to be. So I believe it's just because there's too many things in the queue, and as construction gets completed, basically the closest constructions to the office will get added to that list. So here we really do just need to wait and cross our fingers that things will be completed promptly. Meanwhile, people are complaining about the conditions, and that's really not too surprising. So let's head on back up to Windsor, where I'm disappointed to see a huge number of vehicles waiting in the construction office. And is this because there's nothing to build? No, there's plenty of things to build. Buildings without power supply. There are no workers at the station. So this is our bottleneck. No workers. And I guess there are a few, but maybe they're getting sucked into constructions, or maybe they're getting sucked into here. And maybe I just need to grab some more immigrants, or look inland for another town and grab some people to come and live and work here again, because yeah, spot checks are showing that this town is almost empty. Quite ironic. Maybe it's because we're close to the border. Maybe it's because we built infrastructure that isn't working exactly like it's supposed to. Maybe they don't like that they're working. I did actually think of one thing, you know, waste is not produced until there's some consumption, right? So going by this logic, I was wondering if it's possible that not using any workers reduces their needs. Maybe, perhaps. Anyway, I'm just gonna, you know, it's just bizarre that the towns I have not touched at all still seem to have all their workers. But all good. I will steal those workers and move them around forcibly to where we need them. Okay, this is a milestone. Finally, we have another shop open. So I'm gonna need to get a covered hull here. And maybe a refrigerated truck, just to mirror what we have down there at the other side. And I might uncheck that. So there where you see Burlington Large Customs House, I had checked fuel at first, maybe out of an abundance of caution. Maybe I really didn't need to. This oil tank was never going to pick up anything else. It was only going to pick up things that the consuming buildings require. But it knows what kinds of vehicles it has. So if I left that fuel checked, as more vehicles show up, it may not include the new goods. When nothing's checked, it means everything is checked. So there we go. Because of that, now all of this is automatic, and these two new trucks should automatically try to keep the shop 60% full of all of its goods. And I guess that makes this one in particular a bit of a higher priority, since this shop is absolutely going to consume goods. Consume goods, yes, but produce garbage is what I really meant. Okay, so this is another milestone. I wasn't notified, but we do have our little treatment plant built here, and it looks like the buildings it requires to actually get some water flowing are well under construction. Let me take a look here. Yeah, I never updated this, and we've still got these free construction offices that we probably don't need anymore. So I'm just going to make sure that the main construction office is assigned to all of these. Might even consider increasing the priority, but it looks like we may soon have some drinking water and power. Windsor would be our first town with power and water. How modern. But yeah, obviously I had to turn this off because A, no water going in or out yet, and B, it's actually missing something it requires, which is chemicals. And luckily I have a little distribution office with a covered hull. Chemicals are transported by your regular covered hulls, so I can simply use the exact same truck that is supplying the grocery store to supply the building here. And I will harmonize everything to about 60%. I think in one of the first episodes I did some math and I was saying, hey, you kind of need to harmonize your storage level with the amount that the trucks can carry, but at this point I am getting a bit less specific there, just because, you know, the trucks, let me see what this carries in terms of, right, it can carry up to 4 tons of chemicals, but even if this was completely empty, we're never gonna be optimal. We're never gonna get that many, right? So this is one where you could argue I should be keeping it 0 or 10% full for perfect efficiency. But I don't want to go that, I don't want to risk that, basically. You know, in this case, I'm accepting that the most efficient my truck is ever going to be at delivering these chemicals is about 50%. It will never pick up more than a half load, right? So do I want to reduce this all the way to 10% in my distribution office to say, you know, don't bring chemicals till it's really, really almost empty? No, because I don't want to run the risk. You know, this buffer is small enough as it is. I don't want to run the risk that my water treatment plant runs out of chemicals just in the time it takes the truck to deliver them, right? So I do want to have it kept pretty full, and that goes for other things too. You know, that goes for the store as well. I've got a bit more of a buffer with food in these, just because these goods, these clothes and electronics, they are consumed very slowly, and food I've devoted, almost 80% of the storage to it, so I don't expect to have a problem there. And there you could argue, well, yeah, I should turn that number down. But just for simplicity's sake, keeping it all 60%, we should have our trucks be mostly full when they go to replenish the missing 40% of whatever buildings it's supplying. So this is exciting because we don't have a snowfall yet, and we really may have some power and water going on very soon. And yeah, if I check the shopping center, it's probably going to complain that it does not have access to heating, but it looks like the water treatment plant is considered as a factory. It has its own heating. That's some of this power consumption, right? So it looks like it will not need a heating connection. And I am just wondering about the power consumption. Yeah, that's an issue. So, yeah, if all the buildings, what this is telling us here is all the buildings in range are 300% of what this substation can provide, but that's their total wattage. There we go. It gives you this asterisk. Consider if buildings are connected to multiple substations. So some of the buildings in range are also in range of another substation, and there the supply would be split between the two of them. But we still have a problem that even in that case, it looks like if all the buildings in range were consuming at their maximum, even if it was split with another one, we have 220% here. We have more than double the consumption than this can provide. It is a potential problem. In actual fact, we're very unlikely to have maximum consumption ever, but we can only afford 50% of maximum consumption, right? And I am considering now maybe I need to do another substation or something more specific for here, because it's 5.5 megawatts, and 3.9 of those are just this single building, this water treatment plant, which only is in range. It appears to only be in range of the one substation. So this entire problem, this capacity problem of this one substation would be entirely solved if this single water treatment plant was taken out of the equation. Now, in reality, what's the max throughput per day? 120 cubic meters of water. We're not going to be consuming that at the beginning. Not for such a small town. The consumption will be microscopic. It'll be 5 or 10% of the throughput of this building. So that's also going to affect the power consumption, right? This 3.9 megawatts, that's a maximum. We'll see the wattage, we'll see the voltage. We will only be consuming what we need to treat the amount of water that we need to. So I'm not worried so far. In the beginning, this is not going to be problematic. In the far future, where the town's really big and maybe this water treatment plant is fully maxed out, that's when we might worry about the capacity of that substation. But frankly, if we ever get there, I may want to clean up this downtown area a bit, and I may want to move water treatment somewhere else. Right now it's convenient because it's close to all the consumers. But if the city got way bigger, well, this historic downtown with all these little houses, it might no longer be the densest part of the city anymore. And it may eventually make sense to do water treatment elsewhere and just keep our supply lines hooked up. But yeah, this bothers me that I've got so many idle vehicles here. And I guess I really don't have enough workers. Well, there's always workers here. Maybe I should just get another bus? You know, there's nothing missing. The construction office is supposed to tell me when things are missing. And some of these are really close. Some of these are getting completed before our eyes, as it were. So you know what? I'm not worried. We're entering into November. I'm just going to try to be patient. And hopefully some of this will get built. Let's head on back down to Sherbrooke. And it is already complaining that the garbage container is full, that there's no water, that there's no power, that there's no heating. So I may simply, unfortunately, turn this off. The workers are better off heading to this bus station so things can get built. And I guess I'm gonna steal whatever workers are left in Montreal. I'm severely depopulating it. Yeah, and workers are just decaying away too quickly. So, yeah, I don't think importing workers from Montreal is just driving them away. We're going to cross our fingers for the winter, but I am a little hesitant to keep bringing in workers from the towns we have not really touched, only to see them flee. So I will invite a few more immigrants, just because, as I said, I do believe they have their needs meter reset. And one thing I did buy here that I didn't buy in the other corner yet was a snowplow, a road maintenance vehicle, which is it's set to prefer to clear the gravel roads, which is kind of a priority. And you know, I might turn the range down, because this free dirt parking lot, it's for the town of Sherbrooke, really. That's what it's for. Was that good enough? No, we want 2,000. I wonder if I can do custom. What does 1500 look like? You know, having only the one vehicle, I do want to be a bit miserly and not be plowing roads that we don't need to be plowing. Although as soon as I say that, I do remember that I am still building electrical infrastructure that is far away. Gosh, this is such a mess. Okay, so in Windsor we do have a water intake pipe finally constructed. We march a little bit closer. Oh, this is going to finish any day now. We are marching a little bit closer and closer to completion of our water network. Is this school already under construction? It surely is. And I may even temporarily max that out since we just need work days for the current phase. Is that really wise to go that high? I should have increased it without going quite that high. 25 is appropriate. I'm going to do the same thing here. Surely some of the people we grabbed from Toronto are already fleeing, so it doesn't really make a lot of sense to do too many more. No, actually, I'm not too disappointed with that. Some people are staying. Okay, construction's going at a decent pace now. I think I will do the same thing I did down on the other side. I will make sure everything's done. I will increase priority to plow gravel roads. I will buy a snow plow to plow the gravel roads. I will check at what really needs to be plowed. Let's say 1500. Yeah, because I just want to get over to here. However, the mud roads, less of a priority than the gravel roads. And that's simply because the gravel roads have allow a higher speed. So all other things being equal, if the bus has a choice between two, it's already going to pick the gravel road. So we would want to avoid situations in which the gravel road is not plowed and the mud road is plowed, because it's the same thing for the snow plows as it is for a bus. It's going to actually travel faster along a gravel road because it has that higher maximum allowed speed. So we're getting so close to having this school up and running, I can almost taste it. And if just a couple more things complete here, I may plan a kindergarten or two. So Windsor really might survive. I'm thinking Windsor probably going to survive the winter. Yeah. Okay, this is good news, and this indicates that we may indeed survive the winter, because the shop keeps on running even without the heating. It's already complaining that it has no heat, and yes, the throughput is severely throttled, but it's non-zero, and that is what we like to see. I really doubt we're going to be able to get any heating infrastructure built for this winter. It's too soon. It's coming up too fast. But hopefully it looks like we'll still be able to distribute some food to the town of Windsor in this upcoming winter. And by next winter we should have some heating infrastructure built. But there we go. We're waiting for the survival infrastructure to all be constructed. And I'm afraid that we may need to leave it there for now, folks. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Mr. Squiggs.